Hello to all about today, 26 August 2025 years. I show you book Alan Lightman, MIT, Einstein Dreams, Greek edition. Very good book, page 27. Explain our bodies go slowly when gravity, space-time change. Attention all English speak and mainly United States. They use hypnosis when they see a UFO. American technical physics, Elon Musk today, and they work with flashback hypnosis paraphysics. No any physics, no any technology to explain them about Alan Lightman, MIT teacher, to explain them about Einstein, explain time variable, time dilation, gravitational time dilation. No one, many years, accidents. I see from 1961, many years ago. Flashback hypnosis, 2 hours. Barney Betty Hill. And from 1961, today, 2025, Elon Musk, paraphysic, flashback hypnosis. Speak to American superpower. To work with Einstein, they have MIT, Alan Lightman, explain them about space-time. Pilots, 1945, flight 19er, Navy, see gyro compass inertial system return quickly. See, so I see the sun, we see sunset, and I think sun return over Earth. Physics explain us Earth moving, no sun. Physics in America. Speak to stop hypnosis, work with Einstein, many accidents. Pilots, attention. Many UFO from November in United States. Also, all we know, Nevada and other bases work with aliens many years ago. Brilliant physics, Santorinis Pavlos. Explain he worked in Nevada with aliens. He worked in Manhattan Project. Brilliant physics. All move with gravity, the artificial gravity. No noise UFO, because artificial gravity and they have their atmosphere, their air. Stop hypnosis when time dilation and not say infinity time distortion, not time distortion, exactly. Gravitational time dilation, Einstein twin paradox in heavy gravity, i.e. 3 more instant 23. I cross-check from Bermuda and UFO no see anymore with time signal. I listen time signal from Moscow, short frequency 14996. Very quickly, but okay, agree with mechanical clocks return quickly. Attention, all full digital watches, 4 hours, 35 minutes back. Due they oscillators. Oscillator in heavy gravity, frequency lower and slower. Very easy. All physics. Need work with physics, not work with hypnosis. Many years I try to all embassies in Athens, Greece, since 1978, accept my papers. no give priority, okay, they accept. American embassy, never accept nothing. Go away, no need nothing from you. I have NASA. I do not know because many in embassy are Greek Americans, Americans Greeks. Before ambassador from my village. Never speak due Cavafia walls. Due my poor English. Thank you very much. UFO Chronicles. Hunter, Nik Hunter, translate from Greek and he speak. I put his voice to understand better about what happened. I will to inform all English speak and first American. United States because they start with Hollywood, flashback hypnosis and speak missing time, lost in time. Correct is gravitational time dilation, no missing time, dilation time. Time moves slow. See videos from Carlo Rovelli, Physic, Italian but speak in English. Some videos about time. Time dilation, work with time dilation accidents, and who speak very good English. Inform direct, president from United States is superpower. To know about heavy gravity dangerous. Heavy gravity reflects humans, all humans reflects reaction reduced. Pilots, Siemens, car drivers, all. Move slow. To in paradox, Einstein. Work with physics. Navy, air, academies. Ask physics to teach in the academies about gravitational time dilation, Einstein time, space time. Very good book. All buy this book. Einstein Dreams, Alan Lightman, MIT. The very easy book. Page 26, 27 explain about how body work in different space time. And stop hypnosis. 2025, start 1961, some Hollywood to hypnosis. Einstein, not teach Einstein. I learn Einstein one for 14 years only in small thermo village, exceptional mathematics and physics, two teachers. I speak till today with them. And astrophysics not work. Universities no speak about aliens, no speak about gravitational time dilation. That I want to speak and better to listen UFO Chronicles podcast, Nik Hunter in English, translate me, very good, thank you Nik Hunter, and kindly Cristina Gomez UK YouTuber, speak about my ship Pothiti 978 how I explain. I explain with Einstein, not with hypnosis. Hypnosis explain American. I look television to Florida. They use hypnosis. United States use hypnosis. Me from one small village, 14 years physics, use Einstein. Save my ship with auto analogic keep en route, auto analogic pilot 1953 main and save us 1978. All full digitals back 4 hours 35 minutes. Attention for today all full digital, not work in different gravity. Electronics work with physics, work in heavy gravity. Heavy gravity dangerous also, not only for accidents without trashes. Thank you, Charles Berlitz. Very good videos, very good books without traces. Also, Major Donald Edward Kehoe. Governments and universities not speak. Some very good men, like Charles Berlitz, polyglot writer, books and videos, see all. Major Donald Edward Kehoe about aliens. Many speak found in videos, found in his book. Also, Leonard H. Stringfield about flight objects. The big problem today. Very good books. Many people's good dot many English speak from England, UK. Dot Tony, ex-police officer, speak about see police, see UFO, and explain, write book and has and videos. Try to find him. Dot Tony many years ago. Pancake Zoe, Simodon 1961, many times alien. Speak the truth. Very dangerous, their moving force similar gravity. First explain that France pilot, military France pilot, Plantier France pilot theory. With his theory agree brilliance, physics, international physics, speak 5, 7 languages, Santorini's Pavlos, work in Manhattan Project, work in NASA, work in Nevada with aliens. All aliens explain physics come with same way. A big mothership hovering and after small ship, no noise because they have their atmosphere from their gravity. Small come to up underwear. In one floor underwear, some aliens in liquid, special liquid. Aliens small, aliens high. Remember Charles James Hall with tall whites, other very big, other small, some with one eyes, some with mask, no, probably from our atmosphere. He wrote one book, Professor Sandorinis, because then teacher in our polytechnic here in Athens. He speak from 1940 to 1967. 1967 in Athens, Hunda Papadopoulos economic good, but no like to speak or his book Genesis of University in fire. Next time you speak and you at fire. Never speak again. He died 1986. No one speak about he. He speak brilliant physics, work with aliens. Speak in Athens 1946. Speak 1966 is today. He's from radio. Speak in newspapers. Do you, my poor English, inform all English speak and all other? I have one video in Latin Spanish for Latin countries. Many Latin countries, South American, Cuba, habla español. One video from me in Spanish. Also, for thank you, Patricia Klaus, a reporter, journalist, translate from Greek newspaper, found in Google. Greek Merchant Mariner recalls Bermuda Triangle UFO sighting. This is from newspaper. All know the journalist sends, but okay, she remain about gravitational time dilation and our reflects slowly. Sends a little montage, okay, but okay. Very good explain from Nik Hunter, UFO Chronicles podcast. Found in internet UFO Chronicles podcast, the MV motor vessel MV Pothiti episodion EP 341 EP 341 find in English to avoid tragic accidents without Mayday. Due continues. I remind you 2017 aircraft with 4 families from Bahamas to Florida. Pilots reflex reaction reduced, found after some days. 2020 December. A boat, same Bahamas, Florida. Lost, never found this boat with 20 person on board. Listen, now I put you from, I try to found from my tablet. Yes, Nik Hunter, thank you very much. Cristina Gomez with good YouTube. Try to copy to speak one day about motor vessel Pothiti. Explain to stop hypnosis. Just a moment to start.
NWA 517, do you want to report a UFO? Negative. We don't want to report. Aries 31, do you wish to report it? Negative. We want to report one of those either. Aries 31, do you wish to file a report of any kind of it? I wouldn't know what.
Just a moment to sorry direct to found something. Try to found. Thank you, Nik Hunter, for your good work. Speaker, I think here is.
We don't want to report. Aries 31, do you wish to report a UFO? Over. Negative. We want to report one of those either. Aries 31, do you wish to file a report of any kind of it? I wouldn't know what kind of report to file, sir. Aries 31, me neither. 71 Papa Golf, good. If it was anybody above us, it passed us like 30 seconds ago. 71 Papa Golf, negative. Okay. Something is. It's a UFO. Yeah. It's American 1095. Yeah, something just passed over us. Like a, don't know what it was, but it's at least 2,000 to 3,000 feet above us. So yeah, it passed right over the top of us. 911. You guys with me? You would just call off the UFOs this way. They're up there. Taking airplanes. Dispatch. Okay. Bob, I swear to God, 4 calls in on an unidentified object over Liberty. 4 calls. 4 calls on an unidentified flying object. Alright, we'll check it out.
Welcome to UFO Chronicles, a place where people share their experiences of the strange and unexplained. If you've had an encounter and would like to be on the show, you can email me at ufochronicles@gmail.com. Hello everyone and welcome to the show. How are you all doing this week? I'm Nik Hunter and this is the UFO Chronicles podcast. Tonight's guest comes to us from Athens in Greece. And in this first-hand account, Greek radio operator Polo Spentos recounts an extraordinary encounter in the heart of the Bermuda Triangle aboard the merchant vessel MV Perfiti in the autumn of 1978. Polo and his crew witnessed a large glowing cloud-wrapped object and two small orbs above the Atlantic, and then something far stranger. Time itself began to unravel. Mechanical clocks spun out of control. Quartz watches lagged. Communication systems failed, and the crew's bodies slowed as if trapped in a gravitational field. In this deeply technical testimony, Polo links his experience not to fantasy, but to Einstein's relativity and the infamous twin paradox, drawing parallels to other disappearances, like that of pilot Frederick Valentich. Due to Polo's first language being Greek, his testimony has been translated and voiced in English for clarity and accessibility. This is not a story of lights in the sky. It's a case of measurable, documented time distortion aboard a real ship told by the man who lived it. Polo is up next. But first, if you enjoy the show and you would like to help support the podcast on Patreon, you can do this for as little as $1 a month. Head on over to patreon.com/UFO Chronicles podcast. You can also find a link in the description of this episode. Any help is very much appreciated. Now, on with the show. Bermuda Triangle UFO USO incident. Autumn 1978, Greek radio operator testimony, MV Perfiti. Introduction, background, and first anomalies. This is my experience in the Bermuda Triangle with UFOs and USOs in the autumn of 1978. What I describe here is both an observation and a scientific explanation. The day after it happened, I transmitted a TTT safety message on the 500 kilohertz frequency, warning all nearby ships. Attention! If you observe that your gyrocompasses, inertial navigation systems, and even your wind-up mechanical clocks and chronometers start running extremely fast, take heed. Because when that happens, the opposite effect begins inside the human body. Reflexes slow down, metabolism lags, reactions become delayed. This is a sign of gravitational interference, specifically the kind described by Einstein in the twin paradox, a form of gravitational time dilation caused by intense mass or acceleration. In our case, this gravitational influence came from UFOs and USOs, unidentified flying and submerged objects that passed dangerously close to our ship in the Bermuda Triangle. The incident took place just 3 nautical miles from our position. At the same time, on the other side of the world, something eerily similar was happening. In Victoria, Australia, pilot Frederick Valentich and his Cessna VH-DSJ went missing after reporting a UFO on October 21st, 1978. I'm writing this down for the record and to share with you, especially since you, Nick, are someone who understands these topics. I don't know if you meant I should send a formal report or just my memories, but I've decided to send everything as it actually happened. Because when journalists try to tell these stories, they often edit them, cut out key parts, and even add things that never happened. This is not entertainment. It's a matter of safety. If you feel this could help people, you are free to publish it however you see fit. The more people who know the truth, the more lives and property can be saved. Please forgive me if I'm taking up your space or time. I connect these events with others that are known to the public, and I believe it's important to speak plainly. This is not just an account of strange lights. What happened that day matches real physics, Einstein's relativity, the twin paradox, and gravitational time dilation. And it began, for me, as the Greek radio operator aboard the cargo vessel MV Pathiti, registry code SWJC, flying under the Greek flag. I was the ship's Marconi, the term used for radio officers. This happened in early November 1978, during a routine journey in the Atlantic. Our ship had just departed from several ports in Cuba, Puerto Nuevitas, Puerto Matanzas, and Puerto Cardenas, carrying a full load of bagged sugar, 50-kilo sacks. We were en route to Algeria, with a stop planned in Las Palmas, Canary Islands. The Pathiti was a 12,000-ton freighter operating as both a cargo and postal ship, owned by the Colinsis Marine Company out of Piraeus. Everything was normal. Calm seas, clear skies, perfect visibility. At the end of October 1978, our ship began loading sugar at the Cuban ports I mentioned. But around the world that year, UFO and USO sightings were everywhere. Here are just a few that I later connected to our experience. Poland, 1978, Emelson incident, widely reported UFO landing. New Zealand, 1978, Kaikoura lights, filmed by news crew. Australia, 1978, Frederick Valentich disappears mid-flight. Canada, 1978, RCMP officer reports UFO sighting. That autumn, the world was full of unexplained aerial phenomena, not just lights in the sky, but objects interacting with planes and ships. Back aboard the Pathiti, we had a television in the crew lounge, the smoke room, that picked up American channels via long-distance radio signals. We were watching news footage showing scenes from Florida. Drivers, men and women, talking about how at 3 p.m. they looked up and saw two large glowing objects above them, about 300 feet in the air. They described them as resembling two moons. But here's the part that really struck me. Although only a couple of hours had passed in real time, their heartbeats were recorded at 600 beats per minute, and they were disoriented. Their minds hadn't caught up to their bodies. They later underwent hypnosis to recover missing time. But I didn't need hypnosis. I had seen it before, Einstein's time distortion in action. The media in the US framed these cases as psychological, lost time, hypnosis, fantasy. But no one brought in a physicist to say, this is gravitational time dilation, this is the twin paradox, this is relativity. I remember screaming at the TV, where are your scientists? Why hasn't anyone explained this as a time dilation event? You've got physicists at NASA, not just psychiatrists. But it fell on deaf ears. I paced around the lounge in frustration, shocked that no one in America had drawn the connection to Einstein. Departure from Cuba, time distortion, and first signs of interference. We left Cuba in the late afternoon, fully loaded. The next morning as we sailed, the captain handed me the standard departure telegrams. Then he asked something unusual. Not about the weather. The sea was calm, with no wind, and a perfectly clear sky, but about the barometer. He was concerned the reading from the bridge barometer was off. He asked me to check the atmospheric pressure from the weather bulletin. So I climbed up to the bridge. As soon as I looked outside, I had this strange impression. The ship, a 12,000-ton freighter, looked like it was moving incredibly fast, as if it were a speedboat. And yet, our top speed was barely 11 knots. Something felt off. I went down to the deck and watched the bow cut through the water like a dolphin. The waves parted in a way I'd never seen before. The visual speed didn't match what I knew our engines were capable of. I wasn't the only one. Many sailors over the years have described this same illusion of speed when in the presence of unidentified flying or submerged objects. One of our boatswains later died, likely from radiation exposure. Others fainted during previous encounters. Some crew who had stepped near a landed USO described strange after effects. They didn't find any hatches or doors, but when they stood too close, they lost feeling in their lower bodies for 2 or 3 days. Most crew developed bright red eyes with no visible whites and fevers of 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit, which lasted for a day or two. Several ships in the area, the Anna Maria, Harmonia, possibly the Arrow, owned by Onassis, Scapwind, and Horizon, reported similar issues: radiation exposure, temporary paralysis, and strange fatigue. I mention all this as a warning. Don't look at the craft, don't approach them. The radiation is real. Back in the radio room, I started noticing more anomalies. I turned on the shortwave receiver and began scanning the standard frequencies. Every transmission I picked up was incredibly fast, like someone had hit fast forward on the world. Just one sharp, fast beep after another. Even the time signals were distorted. I realized the shortwave stations could hear me extremely slowly, while I was hearing them extremely fast. The difference was so drastic, I couldn't make normal contact. I couldn't send or receive messages from European coast stations like Athens, SVB, Portishead, GKB, Hamburg, or Madrid, EAD. I couldn't get through to American stations like WCC, WSL, or WNU in New Orleans. Not even the Halifax weather broadcast, CFH, was usable. I tried switching to the medium wave band, 500 kilohertz, hoping to catch an SOS or ship-to-ship message to log, but all I heard was high-speed Morse, QRQ1000. That's code level fast, 1,000 character per minute mess. At the same time, if they were hearing me at all, they would have been hearing me at QRS10. Absurdly slow. Something was seriously wrong. At around 10:30 a.m. local time, I sat frozen at the radio, not knowing what to say to the captain. I couldn't get weather data, and I couldn't send the departure telegrams. I heard the second officer blaming me on the bridge. The Marconi operator messed up the chronometer. That's why we can't calculate our position. I jumped into the chart room where our mechanical marine chronometer was kept. I had been adjusting it every night. I told the captain, "Sir, look at the chronometer log. I've been correcting it consistently. It gains exactly 2 seconds every 24 hours. Perfectly stable." He trusted me. He was one of the most democratic captains I ever sailed with. He came from Kimi, and we all respected him, not out of fear, but because he was fair. He looked over at the second officer and said, "It's not the Marconi. Something else is wrong." The second officer was from Vatica, Laconia. He had brought his wife on this trip. I would later invite both of them, and others from the crew, to physics lectures in Athens hosted by Professor Manos Denezis. Back in the radio room, I told the captain, "I don't know why, but I'm hearing all coastal stations, America, Canada, Europe, at extremely fast speeds, and they're hearing me incredibly slow. That's why I haven't been able to transmit the telegrams yet." He responded calmly, "Okay, Marconi, it's just routine traffic. I'll call the shipping agency via VHF myself." But even the VHF radio was useless. All we heard was static. Not even a single nearby ship could be contacted. We were completely cut off. He just said, "Never mind, let's wait." At 3 p.m. local time, the usual coffee break, someone brought me a coffee to the radio room. I was still trying to make contact with someone, hoping maybe a Greek ship on medium wave could relay a message for us. Nothing. Then at 3:30 p.m., the ship's electrician rushed into the radio room, shouting, "Marconi." The clocks in the dining room and on the bridge, they're all running fast. The hands are spinning. From the engine room to the bridge, I lost 2 hours. Even my own wind-up wristwatch shows the same. He asked what my radio room clock said. I replied without even looking, "I keep Greenwich Mean Time here, UTC." He was offended. "You think I'm a rookie? I just checked the ship's chronometer in the chart room. Everything mechanical is running fast." Back then, we still used wind-up clocks, but we had also recently received 5 or 7 digital quartz watches, early electronic models, many of which the crew had bought as gifts for their wives. One of the third engineers was obsessed with electronics and always eager to learn how they worked. Later that evening, we had dinner at 5 p.m. local time. By 6 p.m., I returned to the smoking lounge. The cook invited me to play backgammon. I agreed, but insisted on sitting where I could keep an eye on the stern and the sea. The weather was still like glass, perfect, cloudless, and calm. Then, out of nowhere, I saw something strange forming over the horizon. A massive, glowing cloud. It reminded me of the one seen in recent video footage from Izmia, Corinth. The object, or cloud, was about 3.5 nautical miles away. It looked like 2 giant basketballs glowing with light, each the size of a 10-meter room. I thought maybe it was some sort of Soviet or American secret military technology. After all, Cuba, the USSR, and the USA were all nearby, lots of tensions. Maybe this was something experimental. Or maybe the Americans were right. Something extraterrestrial. Then 2 smaller spheres, like floating soccer balls, approached from beneath the large object. Their movements were deliberate. I assumed they were going to dock inside the larger one. The way they maneuvered looked like an insertion sequence. That's when I said to myself, this is beyond the US or the Soviets. This might actually be a UFO. Full onset of anomalies, distorted time, sensory delay, and visual confirmation. I got up from the backgammon game to walk to the bridge and the radio room. As I climbed the 2 small staircases, something incredible happened. It suddenly started getting dark. Nightfall was setting in much faster than expected. I checked the time on the bridge clock. 8 p.m. local time. But from the lounge to the bridge should have taken 2 minutes. Somehow, 2 hours had passed. I did a rough mental calculation using the method of 3. My heart beats around 70 times per minute. Yet, this felt like I'd just undergone a massive gravitational acceleration. In normal Earth gravity, we experience 9.78 to 9.83 Gs. What I was feeling now, the way time and perception were bending, was closer to 100 Gs. And yet I had moved only a few steps. Back in the radio room, I decided to check the RWM time signal from Moscow on 14.996 kilohertz to reset the ship's mechanical chronometer. I turned up the volume, expecting the usual tone, but what I heard was so fast, so sped up, I shouted to the second officer, "Come here and listen. The Soviets must have dumped vodka on the transmitter. It's spinning like a maniac." But then I looked at the mechanical radio room clock. It was ticking perfectly in sync. The problem wasn't with Moscow. It wasn't a faulty signal. This was Einstein's relativity in real time. That was the moment everything clicked for me. I sprang into action. First, I pulled a chair across the room while keeping my eyes on the clock. What should have taken just a few seconds to slide it across took over 40 seconds, even a full minute and a half. It wasn't a wheeled chair either. I was moving, but I felt like I was swimming through syrup. Next, I turned on the transmitter and began trying to tap out a Morse message. In 17 seconds, I only managed 3 characters, instead of my usual 23. My heart felt like it was beating 70 times per 10 minutes, not per minute. The gravitational distortion was crushing everything: movement, thought, reaction, even communication. And yet, when I looked around, the UFOs had disappeared. Nothing was visible. And that's when I understood, really understood, how aircraft like the British South American Airways flight Star Tiger could vanish without a trace in 1946. If their pilots were experiencing the same thing I was, they would have appeared to move in slow motion, unable to control their plane as it overshot Bermuda and crashed into the sea. They wouldn't have been able to send an SOS. They wouldn't have realized anything was wrong until it was too late. That's why ships and planes vanish. They don't explode. They just fade, caught in a slow, invisible trap. I thought of Charles Berlitz's book, The Bermuda Triangle. He was right, but it wasn't mysticism, it was physics. This wasn't science fiction. It was a mechanical, measurable breakdown of time. I remembered the books by Donald E. Kehoe, the former U.S. Marine pilot and one of the first serious UFO researchers. I remembered the ideas of Leonard Stringfield, who called UFOs the greatest problem humanity would ever face. They were trying to warn us, and now I had lived it firsthand. Shaken, I went up to the bridge. There was a foreign deckhand, a rookie, his first voyage, being trained by the second officer. I shouted, "What course are you keeping? What are you doing? Our hands aren't responding. The triangle got us." They looked frozen. Their movements were delayed, off rhythm, like puppets. I yelled again, "Put it on autopilot. We can't trust our own reflexes." Eventually, the second officer, young, strong, athletic, managed to get the ship back on course. Today, he trains dogs back in Kaimi. His own son became a naval officer. But I wonder if the son ever learned what really happened in 1978. I told the officer, "Lock it on autopilot and warn the next shift. Nobody touches the helm. We do not change course until after 10 a.m. tomorrow local time." He nodded. "Unless we see another ship in our path, I won't touch it." I left and rushed to find the rest of the crew. I had to warn them. Our hands weren't responding, and our reactions were dangerously slow. I found the third engineer. He looked concerned and said, "Marconi, something's wrong. I lit 2 cigarettes and burned my lips trying to smoke. Couldn't do it. I waited what felt like a few minutes, but the pump took over 2 hours just to move water into the double-bottom tanks. They told me the tanks had flooded, but I had only just started the transfer. That's when I knew. The human body was affected, and the ship's systems were too. I told him, don't open any valves. Don't trust your body right now. Go lie down. We're all delayed. All of us. Someone else was taking a shower. I shouted at them to turn off the taps. Nobody was allowed to touch anything. I didn't even go below to warn the officers. I figured they'd notice on their own. All I could think about was how fast the clocks were spinning, and how the Moscow time signal confirmed it. I needed to sleep, because in the morning, I'd have to send the telegrams I hadn't been able to transmit the day before. I left a note in the log. I sat in the radio room, reviewing everything. I was ready to start issuing emergency alerts. The emergency broadcast confirmation from other ships and proof that relativity was in play. The next morning, I went on the air at 500 kilohertz, transmitting a maritime safety signal in Morse code, the TTT signal used for urgent navigational hazards. My message was direct. CQ, CQDE, SWJCTTT, attention around, UFO USO, twin paradox, Einstein relativity, gravitational time dilation, crew experiencing reduced reflexes, no sensory awareness, heartbeats 70 per 10 minutes, 70 per 20 minutes, even 70 per hour, depending on distance from UFO USO. Attention, extreme danger to navigation. For more information, see Physics, Einstein relativity, twin paradox, gravity space-time distortion. That morning, the 8 a.m. to noon watch began. The captain took the bridge. At some point, a Greek cargo vessel ahead of us, also bound for Gibraltar, responded over VHF radio. The captain answered. Captain, the other vessel said, yesterday we were calling you over and over for hours. Not just on VHF, we tried 2.182 megahertz, we tried 500 kilohertz. Nothing. We were seriously worried. We could see your crew on deck, sometimes moving fast, sometimes slow. We didn't know if you were drunk. You looked like puppets, like marionettes. How did none of you fall into the sea? That hit hard. They could see us, but they couldn't reach us. From their perspective, we were malfunctioning. From ours, time was broken. And this is where relativity comes in. The amount of gravitational distortion we were experiencing, how much it bent time, was determined by our distance from the UFOs USOs. Space and time weren't acting normal. The closer the object, the more extreme the compression and dilation of the space-time field. Einstein was right. Time isn't constant. It stretches and contracts depending on the gravity field you're in. And the human body? According to Einstein, it's designed to adapt to shifting space-time conditions. Because it's not a machine. It was made by God. Perfect in its biological plasticity. But machines, clocks, instruments, digital systems, they can't adapt. They fall apart or produce inaccurate data. We later estimated that the Greek ship calling us had been about 7.5 nautical miles away. That was far enough to stay outside the gravitational field. They could watch us through binoculars, but weren't affected. Meanwhile, we were right on the edge of the zone. Later, during lunch at 12 noon, the chief engineer stormed into the officers' dining room. "Why hasn't any of the work been finished?" he yelled. The engine crew responded in disbelief. "Chief, we don't know how the time passed so fast. We didn't even notice." One man said, "I went to brush my teeth after dinner at 5:45 p.m., and suddenly the deckhand called out that my shift was about to start. It was nearly 8 p.m. The captain stepped in to calm things down. "Relax, Chief. Yesterday, we passed through the Bermuda Triangle." He had heard the VHF call himself. He understood. The electrician added, "I saw it too. The mechanical clocks on the walls, in the mess hall, the bridge, they were spinning fast. I was the first to notice. But then one of the junior engineers, Antonis, who had purchased a digital quartz watch, spoke up. Don't you see? Our mechanical clocks were racing ahead, but the digital watches, they were showing time falling behind by 4 whole hours. Let me explain what he meant. Quartz digital watches rely on a crystal oscillator powered by a small battery. The crystal vibrates at a specific frequency, a phenomenon called the piezoelectric effect. But in areas of extreme gravity, those frequencies shift. The oscillation slows and time appears to drag. This is part of what Einstein described, like the Doppler effect. But it's not about direction. It's about intensity of gravity. Even the tides can rise by 10 meters, affecting not just the sea, but the bridge of the ship itself. That's how strong the space-time distortion can be. This is also where many books get it wrong. They confuse clocks with time itself. A clock is not time, it's a measurement device. It can be affected, broken, slowed, or sped up by forces like gravity or acceleration. But time continues independently of how we measure it. If you want to understand that, I recommend reading The Limits of Awareness by Albert Jacquard. It explains beautifully how our tools distort our perception of time. And Einstein, His Life and Times by Philip Frank, on pages 107 to 108, he writes, depending on the material structure of the object, it will respond differently to space-time strain. That applies to clocks, and radar, and even people. This is why pulse-based radar systems, like those used in fighter jets, struggle to detect UFOs. They emit a brief signal, then they wait for an echo. But if that echo comes back delayed or at a shifted frequency, it gets filtered out or rejected by the system's transmit-receive switch. It's discarded as noise. That's why they often don't register UFOs at all. They need upgrading, not just to Doppler systems, but with infrared cameras and gravimetric sensors. Some governments, like the US and Turkey, believe these craft are conducting electronic warfare when they confuse radar systems. But they're not. It's just basic physics. Turkish media even reported that their radar systems were shredded by a UFO. That's not an attack. That's relativity interfering with weak sensors. Turkey, by the way, now includes UFOs and extraterrestrial life in its educational programs. They've opened 6 museums, and the University of Antalya offers classes. Meanwhile, in Greece, a country that was once ahead of its time, we're still treating it like taboo. Back on the ship, that afternoon, the electrician confronted me. You said you turned the clocks back, but we saw them running fast. How could you? I said, I didn't touch the clocks. He stared at me. Then why are the digital clocks 4 hours behind and the mechanical ones 4 hours ahead? That's when I explained. Clocks are not immune to gravitational variance. Each type reacts differently. Mechanical clocks can speed up, quartz clocks can lag. Nobody had manually changed anything. What they were seeing was gravitational time distortion in real time. I joked, half serious. We got caught in the Bermuda Triangle. And I didn't push it any further, because when you tell people things they don't understand, they just think you're crazy. Scientific breakdown, system warnings, and global context of similar anomalies. Let's be clear about what happened. The mechanical clocks on the ship were showing accelerated time. The digital quartz watches were showing delayed time, some by as much as 4 hours. The clocks weren't broken. They were functioning exactly as physics predicts, under strong gravitational fields. This is what Einstein described in the twin paradox. When one twin travels at great speed or near a powerful gravity source, their time slows relative to the other. That wasn't just a thought experiment, we were living it. The space-time field around us had warped, not because of anything human-made, but because of the UFO USO presence. What we came to believe was a massive mothership accompanied by smaller spherical craft. The mothership and the 2 smaller objects. When I first saw the luminous mass off our stern, it looked like a giant glowing cloud, but brighter and more compact than anything natural. As I stared, I saw 2 smaller, perfectly round objects, the size of footballs, approaching the larger one, floating in midair, hovering. The way they moved wasn't random. They performed controlled maneuvers that suggested they were docking or entering the larger craft. At first, I thought this was secret military technology. The Cold War was still in full swing. Could this be something from the Soviets? Or the Americans? But the more I watched, the more it became clear. This wasn't terrestrial technology. The precision, the glow, the gravitational effects, it all pointed to something beyond our capabilities. The same year, 1978, was a global spike in UFO USO activity. In Evros, Greece, 1977, a massive disk was seen glowing blue. It lit up the sky as if it were daylight for over 2 minutes. In Australia, Frederick Vilantich vanished mid-flight after reporting a large metallic object above his Cessna. In New Zealand, a UFO was caught on camera by a television crew over the Kaikoura mountain ranges. In Canada, an RCMP officer filed an official report of a strange object hovering silently in broad daylight. And in Poland, in the village of Emilson, a man reported being taken aboard a craft by non-human entities, a case that was later commemorated with a public monument. I kept asking myself, why isn't anyone explaining this with science? Why is everything being dismissed as imagination, hypnosis, or hysteria? There's no need for Freudian psychology or alien abduction theories when the answer is right there in physics. The role of communication failure. When I tried sending messages via Morse code, everything was distorted. I could hear the Moscow time signal, RWM on 14.996 kilohertz, but it sounded extremely fast. Not because of faulty equipment, but because we were in a compressed time frame. Our own mechanical clocks agreed with the rhythm of RWM. That confirmed it. We weren't hallucinating. Time itself had bent. Meanwhile, ships and stations that tried to contact us were hearing us painfully slowly, if at all. This mismatch was the result of our different positions within the space-time field distorted by the UFO USO activity. I heard them at QA1000 speed, extremely fast. They heard me at QRS-10, unbearably slow. And then, the crew began to feel it. The ship's third engineer lit 2 cigarettes. Both burned his lips. He said he couldn't smoke them, and that he felt like time was crawling. The water pump, which normally took minutes to move water into the bilge tanks, took 2 hours. He thought it had malfunctioned. Others reported mental fog, dizziness, and inability to act quickly. Someone turned on a shower, and I shouted at him to shut off the valve. Even small actions like opening taps could become dangerous when our reflexes weren't responding. I warned the crew, don't touch anything. Go to bed. Our hands don't work. Don't waste drinking water. Don't open valves. We need to wait this out. This was 1978. We still had mechanical backups, but today, everything is digital, optimized only for Earth's gravity, 9.78 to 9.83. If a plane, car, or ship were to experience the same time warp effects today, most systems would fail. Autopilots, avionics, engine controllers, all rely on fixed timing loops. None of them are designed to handle gravitational distortion. Even worse, nuclear safety systems are now fully digital. They too are tuned for Earth gravity. If any base, especially one near anomalous zones, were to experience a time distortion, those safeguards could fail. It's already happened. U.S. bases, both domestic and in the Far East, have reported unexplained incidents with system shutdowns and warhead arming failures. Read the books of Robert Salas, a former U.S. Air Force officer who witnessed these events firsthand. What science ignores, fiction distorts. I remember walking the decks, talking to the second officer, trying to explain, why does nobody in the United States apply relativity to these cases? Why do they jump to missing time and hypnosis? I kept saying, Einstein gave you the answer. Time changes under acceleration and gravity. What happened to Barney and Betty Hill in 1961 was not just psychological, it was physical. But no physicist was ever called. No explanation was ever offered. Just Hollywood scripts, regression hypnosis, and shrinks. I was furious. Not because I believed in aliens, but because science had gone silent. From the rotation of the clocks to the inertial lag of our reflexes, everything that happened to us aboard the MV Pathiti was entirely consistent with the known physics of time dilation under strong gravitational fields. What changed us and disrupted the ship was not a failure of our technology, but an encounter with a localized distortion in the space-time fabric, likely generated by intelligently controlled non-terrestrial objects. This wasn't belief. It was measurement. And I recorded every detail.
You don't always know you're in a cult. Not at first. It feels like truth, like purpose, like home. Then the rules change, the world gets smaller, and obedience becomes survival. Hidden Cults is the podcast that takes you inside the world's most disturbing belief systems, from the mass suicide of Heaven's Gate, to the gas attacks of Shinrikyo, to the fiery siege in Waco, Texas. We follow the rise, the ruin, and the survivors left behind. But the danger isn't over. We track cults still active in cities, villages, and online spaces around the world, spanning continents, languages, and belief systems. You'll hear real stories from those who escaped. And if you've lived through something like this, we want to hear from you, too. Hidden Cults, new episodes every week, wherever you get your podcasts.
As the effects of the time distortion began to subside, I made my way back to the radio room. My goal was to send out the remaining telegrams, log what had happened, and document the unprecedented anomalies we had just lived through. At that moment, I realized something else. The danger wasn't over. The real danger was in how little we, as a species, understood what had happened, and how badly equipped we were to face it again. What happened to Star Tiger? I kept thinking about British South American Airways flight Star Tiger, which vanished without a trace on January 30th, 1948. What if their crew had been caught in the same kind of space-time distortion? What if, as their plane flew over the Bermuda Triangle, their onboard clocks and instruments slowed down, their reflexes lagged, and they overshot their destination without realizing it? No SOS was sent. No debris was found. They simply disappeared into the ocean, just like that. Not because of aliens, not because of magnetic anomalies or fantasy, but because of gravitational time dilation caused by proximity to unknown aerial objects. Their radios may have still been working, but they wouldn't have been able to transmit fast enough. The Morse code signals would have come out so slow, so drawn out, that by the time anyone received them, it would have been too late. This is exactly what we experienced aboard the Pothiti, and why I'm convinced relativity is the missing link in so many disappearances. Radar systems can't detect this. Now let's talk about radar. Why didn't we or other ships detect the UFO USO presence more clearly? Because most pulse-based radar systems, especially in the 1970s, used transmit-receive (TR) switches. These emit a short burst of energy and then switch to listen for the returning echo. But when a space-time distorted echo comes back, meaning it's either shifted in frequency or delayed by gravitational drag, it either gets rejected by the radar's frequency filter or arrives outside the expected time window and is discarded. In both cases, nothing registers. The radar screen stays blank. That's why pilots and sailors see these objects with their eyes, but get nothing on instruments. The tech we use simply isn't built for relativistic distortions. Modern radar needs more than Doppler upgrades. It needs infrared tracking, gravitational field sensors, and variable frequency receivers that account for relativistic delay. The future is all digital. That's a problem today. Everything runs on digital systems. Planes, ships, cars, even missile launch and nuclear fail-safes. Every one of those systems is calibrated to function under Earth's standard gravity, 9.78 to 9.83 Gs. None of them are designed to handle conditions like what we experienced, not even remotely. That's why I'm worried, because these events still happen, and the world is now more digitally dependent than ever. If a ship, plane, or nuclear base gets caught in such a field again, and they will, we might not recover. And these events have happened. There are documented cases of electronic failure in US military bases, both at home and overseas. Nuclear missiles were rendered inert, warning lights failed, launch sequences aborted, no physical damage, just systems that no longer obeyed their own programming. You'll find much of this in the writings of Robert Salas, a former USAF officer involved in such incidents. Meanwhile, in other nations, did you know Turkey now includes UFOs and aliens in their educational curricula? They've opened 6 museums on the subject, and their University of Antalya offers accredited courses on extraterrestrial life and phenomena. And yet in Greece, the birthplace of science, it's still taboo. We had Pavlos Santorinis, a brilliant Greek physicist who worked in both theoretical and military applications, burned by the junta. His book, The Genesis of the Universe, was destroyed in 1967. Greece once led in these discussions. Now, we're silent. Even the US, for all its technological superiority, has been slow to accept this reality. Yes, in 2004, US Navy pilots began releasing footage of UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, confirming daily encounters over the course of 2 years. In 2021, the Pentagon released videos of UAPs, some moving faster than missiles, diving into the ocean, exiting Earth's atmosphere, or performing impossible 90-degree turns. No wings, no visible propulsion, no heat trail. But even now, most explanations ignore relativity. Few mention gravity-based propulsion, space-time field distortion, or the Plantier force theory, 1953, proposed by a French military pilot, or Santorini's own radio interviews with Greece's state broadcaster. The last moments of the event. After everything I had seen, I went back to the bridge. The second officer was training a new recruit, a foreigner, likely on his first voyage. He was slow, delayed. His hands weren't responding. I shouted, "What are you doing? This isn't a simulation. Our reflexes are gone. We've been hit by the Bermuda Triangle." They looked stunned. I told them to lock the autopilot and not to touch it. The officer nodded. We'll stay on this course until 10 a.m. tomorrow. I'll make sure the next watch knows. I thanked him. Then I left. I started going cabin to cabin, warning others. Don't open taps. Don't run water. Don't trust your body. Everything is slowed down. The third engineer told me, I lit 2 cigarettes. Both burned my lips. I couldn't even finish them. But while I waited, the pump took 2 hours to transfer water. I thought I just started. That's when I realized even the most basic human senses were being warped. Not just time, not just vision, but temperature, tactile awareness, pain. Someone else had gone to shower. I shouted through the door, turn off the taps, go to sleep, don't touch anything. And then everything started returning to normal. Not all at once, slowly, gradually. The clock settled, our hands responded again, our ears normalized. The nightmare ended, but the memory stayed. And with it came this final thought. The real danger isn't what's out there, it's that we don't understand it. And when we do, we ignore it.
This next part of the episode is questions and answers, and a full transcript can be found on our podcast website. Polo, what had been your career prior to 1978? And can you describe your role aboard the MV Pathiti at the time of this incident?
Early education. Thermo, Greece, circa 1966 to 1967. At the age of 14, while in my second year of middle school, I was already being taught Einstein's theory of relativity. I grew up in the small town of Thermo in Aetolia Acarnania, Greece, and had the good fortune of being taught by 2 exceptional teachers, one in mathematics and one in physics. They were gifted communicators. I still keep in touch with them today. That's when I first understood Einstein's concepts, gravitational time dilation, how clocks behave differently under different conditions, and how time flows at various speeds depending on gravity and velocity. I would later realize that in the United States, relativity isn't part of the standard high school curriculum. Only those who go on to work for NASA or study at a university might learn it. Back then, at least in 1966 and 1967, Greece was ahead. I don't know what they teach now. Merchant Marine training, Asperpyrgos Academy, early 1970s. Later, I enrolled in the Merchant Marine Academy of Asperpyrgos, near Athens. There I studied 1 year of electrical engineering, 1 year of radio electronics. We were trained on all ship systems, radar, sonar, radios, intercoms, navigation systems, including LORAN-C and DECA. As a radio officer, I was also responsible for understanding the functioning principles of the systems, not just operating them, but maintaining and repairing them at sea. One of the first things we learned in satellite navigation, what we now call GPS, was about time correction. In orbit, gravity is weaker, so time flows faster, plus 45 milliseconds. Because satellites move quickly to stay above a fixed point on Earth, time also flows slower, -7 milliseconds. Net result, plus 38 milliseconds difference per day. That's relativity in action. We were trained to understand this from the beginning. It wasn't theoretical. It was part of real, practical operations. First ship posting, MV Nordalore, 1974 to 1975. I served aboard the cargo vessel MV Nordalore, SVNZ, as both the radio operator and unofficially the ship's electrician, because there was no assigned electrician on board. Thanks to my academy training, I could repair all essential electronics, manage shipboard communications, and maintain navigational systems, all while being fully aware of the role relativity played in timekeeping and satellite positioning. Military Telecommunications Service, Greek Army, post 1975. I was later drafted into the Greek Army and assigned to the elite telecommunications school. It was a pioneering unit at the time. I completed the course with high grades, received a diploma as a military communications technician, spent 7 months in practical training, served another 24 months working on real communication systems, from large base stations to remote mountain operations. This period solidified everything I'd learned. I didn't forget a thing. I was actively applying my knowledge in real-world systems. One tool that was especially valuable, the RWM time signal from Moscow at 4,996 kilohertz. That signal was my benchmark, my verification tool. As my professors used to say, QED, which was to be demonstrated. From that point on, I acted with certainty. I've lived by this since 1978. Don't just talk, act, even if you're alone. One swallow doesn't bring spring. And like Cavafy said, the walls rise high like the towers of Babel. It's a digital dark age now, but I never stopped acting on what I know. I was the radio operator aboard the Pathiti at the time. That was my official duty. But really, I was more than that. I wasn't just sending messages. I was trained in radio electronics, satellite systems, and navigation tech. If something failed, I fixed it. Radar, sonar, internal comms, all of it. I had studied at the Merchant Marine Academy in Asperpurgos, and I'd served in the Army's top telecommunications unit. So when things got strange out there, I didn't panic. I listened. I measured. I checked the Moscow time signal, and that's when I realized it wasn't the equipment that was fast. It was us that had gone slow. Time was breaking down, and I was the first one on that ship to understand it.
What was the weather like in the days leading up to this event?
The weather? Kavak. Ceiling and visibility okay. That means clear skies, good visibility, and no significant weather. Both days. Very good. Perfect, actually. Clear skies, oily sea, not a single cloud in sight. Visibility was excellent. It was only the second day of sailing, and everything looked calm. Too calm, maybe. The sea was like glass. You could see for miles. Nothing unusual. At least nothing that your eyes could see. But the barometer? Stuck. Completely frozen. Wouldn't move. I told the captain, Captain Marconi, and he said not to bother taking any weather reports. He already knew. Don't take any weather, he told me. The barometer's stuck. The bridge officers were literally banging on it, trying to get it to react. Nothing. I told them not to break it. It was one of those French models, pressed behind glass. Not like the older ones with paper and pen. Delicate. Useless now. I started noticing something else too. On VHF, I was only getting static. Just parasites. No real communication. I tried calling ships, tried catching time signals. Nothing. It was like the whole sea had gone quiet, but not naturally. Artificially. The captain, a very democratic man, one of the best I've ever served under, even told me to try picking up a time broadcast from any ship, just in case. Because the chronometer wasn't right either. Try anything, he said. I knew something was off. Everything looked fine. But the instruments, the ones that matter, were showing us a different story.
Can you describe what you saw off the stern, the glowing object and the two smaller orbs, please?
The electrician, along with a few others, saw it first. This was between 1240 and 1330 near the stern of the ship. Up high above the stern, a large white cloud. I saw it later, between 1740 and 1800. A white mist, and later, two smaller objects underneath it. Silent. Completely silent. The large white cloud, what I believe was the mothership, wasn't moving. It was just hovering, suspended, like it was defying gravity. The two smaller ones were moving toward it. One of them looked like it was trying to dock or merge with the larger craft. I've seen this exact kind of thing in videos. Frederick Valentich, 1978. The pilot who vanished over Australia, and also the Robert Taylor incident in Scotland. What I saw was exactly like those cases.
Did you see any sign of propulsion, exhaust, rotation, or movement inconsistent with known aircraft or marine craft?
No. They don't make any sound because they use artificial gravity. That's why they hover. They don't need wings or flaps or propulsion in the way we understand it. They move using some kind of artificial gravitational field. This isn't just my opinion. The French pilot Jean Plantier talked about this back in 1953. And the Greek physicist Pavlos Santorinis, who was internationally respected, said the same thing on Greek radio on February 8, 1966. His full interview still exists. He explained it in terms of gravitational manipulation. Bob Lazar talked about it too, and so did a former Canadian Minister of Defense. Even a U.S. pilot testified before Congress that he believed the craft moved using general relativity. He said, and I quote, "I'm a physicist as well as a pilot, and they're using principles of gravitational distortion. These craft had no wings, no flaps, no moving surfaces. And that matches what others have said across time. And don't forget, even the ancient Greeks described this. Lucian and other classical writers wrote about ships that floated above the sea. In the Kyberian mysteries, there was the hovering ship, described as purple, suspended, and gliding above the water. It's the same symbolism, the cloud, the mist, the floating vessel. Just like the story of Phrixus and Hell on the Golden Cloud.
How close do you estimate the closest object came to your vessel?
Around midday, the electrician saw something above the stern. I myself saw it around 18. I estimated it was about 3 nautical miles away by that point. But I want to emphasize this. By 2015, it was gone. No longer visible to the naked eye. I didn't use the radar. I didn't dare. I was afraid if I switched it on, the radar waves might trigger something. Maybe a missile response, or attract attention. Furthermore, I had already realized from the RWM time signal and everything else that we were dealing with extraterrestrials. I didn't want to risk making them think I was trying to lock onto them or track them. The electrician told me he saw it up high above the stern. He doesn't talk much about it, though. The whole topic is taboo, especially in Greece, even though we have the largest merchant fleet in the world. Our universities and our government, they're worse than the Inquisition. Think about that. Columbus, in the Middle Ages, wrote about strange lights and spinning compasses. The Inquisition accepted that and spread the account. But today, we're living in a digital dark age. Japan grounded a pilot simply because he reported a UFO. That's the kind of medieval mindset we're up against. It's insane. People's lives and property are at risk. And yet, if a pilot says what he saw, he gets punished. And we Greeks? We had Pavlos Santorinis, a brilliant physicist, and still nothing. Greece, the #1 shipping nation on Earth, stays silent. I say it again. Eidos argioi. Shame on us. We know better. And we say nothing.
Was there any sound from the objects?
No. It was all explained many times by Pavlos Santorinis. He was a world-renowned Greek physicist, a true scientist internationally respected. He said these crafts operate with their own gravity, their own atmosphere, and that when their atmosphere interacts with Earth's atmosphere, they remain silent, no sound. That's why they hover. That's why they glide. Because they're using a closed, self-contained gravitational and atmospheric system that doesn't rely on our physics.
You mentioned the objects seemed to dock or merge. Can you describe the motion or control they exhibited?
It moved completely silently. No exhaust, no propulsion, nothing visible. When one of the smaller objects tried to attach itself to the large one, I reacted immediately. That's the moment I started to act. And from that point forward, I've only acted. Especially after I confirmed that the hourly signal from RWM at 14.996 kilohertz matched the mechanical wind-up chronometers and clocks. That was the proof. I didn't wait. I ran to the bridge. But here's the strange part. I left at 18, and I didn't arrive until 20. That's 2 hours and 15 minutes lost. That's gravitational time dilation. That's Einstein's space-time distortion happening right in front of me. The way those objects were hovering, suspended, floating like nothing on Earth, that's general relativity. The very same explanation that a U.S. Air Force general gave before Congress. He said, I have a degree in physics. These objects move by means of general relativity. And he's right. As long as human technology is not advanced enough to build machines like flying discs, the very fact that such discs appear at all is enough to justify the development of a theory. A theory in which both their construction and their behavior fall squarely within the realm of technically explainable phenomena. Santorinis was asked once by Marenios, has any theory been proposed that explains these phenomena? Santorinis answered yes. It's the theory proposed by the Frenchman Plantier. It goes like this. Everyday experience teaches us that if we remove the support from any object, it falls, always in the direction of Earth's center. This is the effect of gravity. Now imagine if we could control that force, neutralize it, redirect it however we want, even amplify it at will. That's what they've done. Professor Pavlos Santorinis on the Plantier force and the physics of flying discs. Basic concept. It would be enough for us to direct this force upward and make it stronger than Earth's gravitational pull in order to make any object rise, or rather to cause it to fall upward. Alternatively, instead of falling upward, by orienting this hypothetical force in the desired direction, we could cause an object to fall toward any direction we choose. I must clarify that this hypothetical force must be of the same exact nature as the force of gravity. This means its effect must act simultaneously upon all atoms in the mass of an object, not just on a single point on its external surface. A force like this is completely unknown to modern science. This is a theoretical idea proposed by the French scientist Plantier, and I shall now refer to this as the Plantier force. Here lies the essential difference between a common physical force and what we now call the Plantier force. The latter is a gravitational type force, but one that can be reoriented in any direction and intensified at will. Analogy with a train. Let's suppose we have a train made up of 9 wooden carriages, all very lightweight, with the engine placed at the rear. Let's also suppose we install 10 extremely powerful engines inside the last carriage, and then activate them all at once. The result? Destruction. The light wooden carriages ahead would be crushed by the sudden force from behind. This is what happens when a conventional force is applied externally. The energy propagates unevenly, resulting in stress and breakage. But if instead, Each carriage had its own engine, and all engines started at exactly the same moment with the same acceleration. Then nothing would be damaged. The train would move uniformly, smoothly, as if it were a single unit. That is how the Plantier force behaves. It acts simultaneously on all particles in a body, meaning acceleration causes no stress, no rupture, and no shock. This mirrors what we observe when objects fall freely in a vacuum. They accelerate uniformly, regardless of what they are made of or how dense they are. Environmental effect. Now let's take it a step further. Assume the Plantier force doesn't just act on the object itself, but also on the space around it, diminishing in strength with distance. This has enormous implications when we consider the many unexplained phenomena associated with the appearance of flying discs, UFOs. The unexplained phenomena explained. Question from Moranios. What are these unexplained phenomena? Santorini's. They are total absence of sound, despite the object moving at high speeds through Earth's atmosphere. Thermal resistance that doesn't match the known behavior of any known metals. Flight behavior that appears intelligent, even though the craft performs sudden accelerations and maneuvers that would normally be fatal to living organisms inside by human standards. Scientific explanation via the Plantier force. If the Plantier force also acts upon the surrounding air, causing it to move with the craft, then there is no friction between the object and the air. Therefore, no heat is generated by air resistance, and consequently, no sound is produced. This explains the completely silent, possibly fast movements of flying discs, their astonishing resistance to heat, and why any beings inside them appear unaffected by intense G-forces and changes in speed or direction. All of this becomes entirely explainable if we accept that the pilots of these discs are using a form of gravitational force still unknown to modern human science, a force whose properties were first outlined by the French scientist Plantier. This is, in essence, a gravitational force, but one which can be directed, controlled, and intensified at will. Such control implies a technological evolution on the part of these beings that far exceeds the current scientific capabilities of Earth. And so we are left with the obvious question: can we truly still doubt the existence of intelligent living beings on other planets in the universe?
Polo, at what point did you realize this wasn't an equipment failure, but something affecting time itself?
I don't know if anyone managed to take a photo, but probably not. The electrician had gone for his coffee break around that time. The ones who saw it at the stern were working in the engine room, so they likely didn't have cameras on them. As for me, I definitely didn't have a camera at the stern. I didn't even own one. I'll include the RWM hourly signal here a couple of times, because I worked with it, and a lot of people don't even know it exists. You should all be familiar with it. That signal saved me. It told me the truth when everything else felt off. And then there's the foolish hypnosis story from the Americans, the one we saw on Florida television 10 days earlier while we were docked in Cuba. 2 hours of missing time. Everyone in regression hypnosis. But no foundation, no scientific background. They don't teach relativity in high schools over there. No Einstein, just confusion. I tried to explain it later in the smoking room, tried to get the other officers to understand what was really happening. But the Americans, most of them had never touched physics. They just defaulted to hypnosis, because they had no other framework. Meanwhile, back in my small hometown of Thermo, I was learning Einstein's theory of relativity in the second year. I was only 14 years old. That's the difference. And this RWM signal, let me explain exactly what it is, because it matters. The phrase RWM Moscow time signal heard on 14996 kHz CW shortwave refers to a very specific type of radio transmission used for precise timekeeping. RWM is the station's call sign. It's run by the Russian government, and it transmits official time signals used for navigation, science, and communication. The Moscow time signal just means synced with Russian atomic time, not just their local time zone, but the actual official time standard. The frequency, 14996 kHz, that's the exact spot on the shortwave band where it broadcasts. You can hear it all over the world with the right receiver. It uses CW continuous wave. That means no voice, no music, just pure pulses, like Morse code or beeps. Clean, simple, reliable. You hear a tick or pulse, and that's time locked in. And shortwave, that's how I was listening. It bounces off the ionosphere, lets you hear transmissions from across the globe, even out at sea. Mariners like me depended on it. It's what let me confirm that something was wrong with time. Not the signal, not the clocks. Me. I was the one going slow. The equipment matched the RWM tick. That's when I knew. So what does it mean, in full? It's a time pulse, transmitted as a continuous wave broadcast from Moscow on 14996 kilohertz, a signal you can hear from anywhere in the world if you're listening. And in 1978, I was listening. It told me I was inside something impossible.
You connected this experience to Einstein's twin paradox. Did you come to that realization at the moment or later on?
I managed to send only 3 Morse characters in 17 seconds, when normally I would have sent 23 in that same amount of time, and the mechanical clock was working fine. I checked it against the RWM signal. It wasn't the timepieces, it was me. Simple math explains it. Under normal gravity, with my heart beating at 70 beats per minute, I could send 23 more signals in 17 seconds. But for me to only send 3 in that time, that means my heart was beating somewhere around 70 per 10 minutes. Do the math. That's not human slowness. That's a change in time itself. But this needs real scientists, physicists, medical doctors, not just sailors like me. And the electrician, at 10, walked a short route, something that should have taken 2 minutes, but it took him 2 hours and 35 minutes. You figure it out. Me, I went from the smoking room to the bridge to the radio room, and it took me 2 hours and 10 minutes instead of 2 minutes. You calculate how many heartbeats that should be. Figure in the gravitational distortion, time dilation. This is Einstein, not fantasy. Look it up. There's a book, Einstein's Dreams, Greek edition by Catoptro Publications. Pages 26 to 27 explain it. And you know what they don't teach in those books? They don't teach you about extraterrestrials, or UFOs, or the Bermuda Triangle. Not in the universities, not in the governments, not in your high schools. Which means, and I say this with a heavy heart, the devil has left the churches and entered the schools. I say this because St. Cosmas of Aetolia, who came from my village during the Turkish occupation, he would tear down church bell towers and turn churches into schools. Because back then, education was banned and we had only the hidden schools. He used to tell the faithful, don't worry, the devil can enter a church, but not a school. But now, since 1947, when they started hiding the truth about extraterrestrials, the devil has entered the schools and the universities and the governments. That's where the science lives now. Not in the sky, on the ground.
Do you have an interest in the paranormal? Then you'll love the unxnetwork.com. The X is your streaming audio and video for everything supernatural, strange, and mysterious, like UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, and so much more. From hosts like Clyde Lewis, Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, and Cristina Gomez. Visit the unxnetwork.com show page for a complete list of all the paranormal programs you'll find on the X. Be sure to follow us on Twitter for updates at KUNXDB. Follow our Facebook group, UNX Network. Find the podcast on Spotify, iHeart, Audible, and Apple Podcasts. It's time. It's new. It's the X. X. X.
How dangerous do you believe digital-only infrastructure is in the face of future encounters like this?
The real problem is that they don't even try to adapt. Not when the value of gravity changes. They just ignore it. Let me remind you, the Antikythera mechanism? That was mechanical, precise. Ancient Greeks built that. The failure today is digital. The digital systems, they were behind by 4 hours and 35 minutes, just like physics predicts. But here's the irony. Modern physics, the science that should explain all this, refuses to even acknowledge the existence of extraterrestrials. And why? Because they're ordered not to. That's the truth. It comes from the top, from the elite, the ones who really run this planet.
Before your experience in 1978, what was your understanding of the Bermuda Triangle? Myth or something more?
Back at the academy, our instructor, an experienced radio operator, along with other teachers, they all agreed. Something strange happens in the Bermuda Triangle. But no one had an explanation. No one. Back in the 70s, there were stories going around, like the one about the Greek ship Milton Iatritis. That one made the rounds. But the thing is, most of us who were radio telegraphers and radio electronics techs, we also had a strong grounding in physics and astrophysics. And from everything we were taught, we believed that because of the enormous distances involved, nothing out there could ever reach us. So everything else, just myth. That's what the top astrophysicists in Greece were saying. Big names, famous guys. One of them, an exceptional astrophysicist and a very good man, even became a member of the European Parliament. He wrote books. And before he died, he still maintained, Earth is condemned to its loneliness. So we, the radio operators and electronics guys, we just accepted what the astrophysicists said. We trusted them, which meant we thought it was all myth.
Did you or your crew ever talk about the triangle before setting sail, or was it dismissed as superstition?
No, sailors don't really talk about this stuff. Like I told you, the ship's electrician, he never once mentioned to me that he'd seen the cloud too. Not back then. Even though we worked together for years, even though he heard me talk about it again and again, he only admitted it in 2024 on that video I sent you. That's the problem. No one wants to be seen as a lunatic, so they don't talk. Now, me, after I became sure of what had happened, after I understood it, I started discussing it with older sailors. One of them, a chief engineer, told me, we were working in the engine room in our coveralls, and then we suddenly found ourselves back in our cabins in pajamas. But he said he had sinned, because their captain and first engineer had sworn them to secrecy. The guy was still a trainee back then, a junior engineer, but the order was clear. Never tell anyone what happened. That was common before 1974. Most sailors back then were from the islands, places like Chios, Kalymnos. If you went home and said aliens came aboard the ship, you'd be treated like a crazy person. That was just the reality of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So they made the crew swear oaths of silence. Ships have their own gospels, in a way, their own rules. But later on, after my own incident, I started to bring these topics up myself. I would steer the conversation, ask around. I heard a lot of stories. Some of them said small aliens had actually come aboard. Friendly. They touched the sailors, gently. But the captain didn't slow the ship down. He was headed to America, to a scheduled port, and he didn't want any delays. When he approached the dock, the local harbor pilot was already waiting. So those little beings jumped into the sea, got into their small craft, and took off. I've gathered a number of testimonies. I still have them. I think it was 7 different ships in total, all of them reporting 3 disc-shaped craft of the same size. All had experienced about 2 hours of time distortion. In every case, the crew had fevers for 2 days afterward. Their eyes turned red, only for 2 days. Usually 2 of the sailors who had been closest to the discs fainted briefly. In one case, a boatswain even died. But when the ship arrived in the US, the Coast Guard told the crew not to say anything. They even said they wouldn't mention that the ship had arrived late. These were stories from the older sailors, late 50s to early 70s. After my experience, I really started looking into it, but I wasn't writing everything down. Only the ones that matched my own case. The ones involving time distortion or space-time dilation or contraction. Those were the ones I paid the most attention to.
After what you experienced, do you believe the Bermuda Triangle is a real zone of unexplained phenomena?
What we're talking about is the Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen Bridge. That's how the extraterrestrials come and go, through that. They enter here, and from there, they go to places like Australia, like what happened to Frederick Valentich in 1978, or to Greece, like the event in 2017. This ties in directly with modern physics. The heightened static electricity observed in these regions, what the locals call an electrical hurricane, that's what the extraterrestrials are using. That's the exotic matter. That's what they release to form the bridge to create the connection and pass into our world. There's always static electricity in that zone, a constant, QRN 5/5. You can't miss it. And when they come or go, or when these flying discs are traveling through our space, you get time dilation or contraction, slowed reactions, distorted space-time. Don't forget what the former Canadian Minister of Defense said. These things are happening over our heads, literally. After my time at sea, I worked in civil aviation for many years. I saw the reports, I read the testimonies, pilots filing accounts of UFOs, and not just a few. These were official reports, filed within Greek airspace. They went straight to the Pentagon. From there, they disappeared, buried, because they've made deals. The governments, the elites, they've made agreements with these beings. Just like that Canadian defense minister said, and others too, like Robert Bigelow, aliens among us. Or John Lear, who warned they're already here, and they're not our friends. Charles James Hall talked about the tall whites in Millennium Hospitality. Then there's Tony Dodd, a former UK police officer, and Dr. Bruce Maccabee, who worked with both the CIA and FBI on UFOs. France has released UFO files, so has the UK. The truth is out there.
Have you spoken with other sailors or officers who have had strange encounters in the same region?
As I mentioned earlier, I was the one who always approached others. I tried to get them to share their own experiences with me, but very few ever talked, and when they did, it was always in strict confidence. I only kept the few stories that matched certain patterns: time-space distortion, blackouts, even one death. The ones that resonated deeply with what I had experienced. What stood out most were the cases that mirrored my own. The same strange effects, the same sense of time stretching or folding. In one case, there was a crew member who lost consciousness. In another, someone died, just like I explained earlier. Some of these stories reminded me a lot of the Pascagoula case. You know, the one from Mississippi. The details were eerily similar. That same kind of unreal moment, where you're caught between what you know and something far beyond it.
Do you think incidents like yours are still happening there, but going unreported?
Yes, but it's not just there. They don't only come and go through the Bermuda Triangle. They move everywhere. It's just that area is a point of entry, a gateway. But I believe that zone extends further. It's not exactly a triangle. It likely reaches further south, wherever there's an increase in static electricity. That's the key. We've heard similar things about the Alaska Triangle. Same idea, same phenomenon. Of course, you don't hear this from the people who truly run things, the ones in power, governments, universities. They don't say a word. But the extraterrestrials are here. That's what researchers have told us, serious ones. Charles Berlitz, Donald E. Kehoe, Leonard H. Stringfield, all respected men. They spoke the truth. Many English-speaking people have said it. But governments and universities stay silent. The elite don't want the people to know. They don't want the public educated. They want everyone hypnotized, distracted, confused. That's why I say forget hypnosis. Study Einstein. Follow the physics. The first to speak clearly was the French pilot Plantier. And then our own great physicist, Pablo Santorini's, and many English-speaking experts have come forward since then. As individuals, as men, they had courage. They spoke. But the states, the schools, the universities, they've been corrupted.
What would you say to a skeptic who thinks this was hallucination, error, or simply maritime confusion?
From 1974 to 1984, when I was working in the Merchant Navy, every time we were scheduled to board a ship, we had to undergo a full medical examination at the NEE. That's the Supreme Naval Medical Board. Every doctor was there. General practitioners, internists, psychiatrists, psychologists. It wasn't optional. It was mandatory. And later, when I moved into civil aviation from 1985 all the way until 2021, it became even stricter. Every few months, I had to pass through the Aeromedical Center. Again, full panels, physicals, psych evaluations, psychiatrists, psychologists. The same goes for pilots. So when you hear that pilots, commercial ones from Lufthansa, from British Airways, when they report seeing UFOs, and those sightings are confirmed not just by them, but also by Turkish air traffic control near Chios, and again 4 minutes later by Yugoslavian ATC, that's not delusion. That's not imagination. That's not a hallucination. These are trained professionals, pilots, trollets, controllers. They don't make things up. They're monitored constantly. They're cleared medically. So when they say they saw something, they saw it. And we've had these same reports in the United States, New Jersey, Oregon, and more, just recently. Let's not forget either. Gravity anomalies are not a joke. They can affect nuclear stability, volcanic activity, earthquakes, even led to massive blackouts. The dangers are real. Be careful how you talk about this. Phil Schneider was executed for saying things like this.
After living through this, what message would you most want to pass on to scientists, sailors, and the public?
My job as a radio operator, it was never just about signals. It was about preventing tragedies. That's the duty. That's the responsibility that comes with maritime safety. It was my obligation. I've said it everywhere, in Greek schools, in Parliament, even the European Parliament. I ran for office because no one was listening. Back in 1978, the media ignored me. But in 1995, one newspaper finally picked up the story. Even the former prime minister, a great man, a proud Cephalonian from the Ionian Islands, congratulated me. He never set foot in Turkey. His people were the pirates of the Caribbean, they say, descendants of the Cephalonians, striking back at the British who once occupied our island. And now they make statues of them in the US. But me, I spoke out and I still speak out. Because if the judiciary ever comes for me, the only question I'll face is whether I did my duty. Did I prevent tragedies, nuclear incidents, earthquakes, volcanoes, power outages, water system failures, ship or aircraft accidents caused by slow reactions to gravitational anomalies? I took all of this to the courts in 2023 after I ran for office. And the good thing is that pilots in civil aviation understand it immediately. But it's not taught anywhere. Among the sailors, half supported me. The other half didn't want to hear it. Among scientists, forget it. They won't listen to someone from the sea. That's what I call the Cavaphy walls. Like Plato's allegory of the cave, only I say the Cavaphy walls are the Tower of Babel. I was the first to say that. Just like I was the first to talk about the twin paradox, not American hypnosis theories, and to use the RWM hourly signal as a time catalyst 10 days before the event. In civil aviation, I did the same. My job was the safety of aeronautics. It's my duty. I understand the theory, but I also lived it. I measured it. 4 hours and 35 minutes. And I'm still shouting, warning people to prevent disasters. But it's sad, only one satirical actor lets me speak. I first talked to him on air October 27th, 2021, during his show The People's Hour on 90.1 FM. Now he gives me 2 minutes every afternoon between 1 and 2 p.m. The rest of the journalists? They won't touch it. They act like NASA and the Americans know everything. But do you know? Then go ahead.
Did you ever have an interest in UFOs prior to your encounter in 1978?
No, not at first. I didn't get involved because honestly I was focused on other things. My main interest was in physics and electronics. That's what drew me in back at the Naval Academy. We were studying radio electronics and applied physics. It was serious training. And back then, we had the great Greek astrophysicists telling us, until the day they died, that because of the vast distances involved, we humans are alone, that nothing could come here. So we absorbed that. We believed it. Sure, in the summer cinemas you might catch something from Charles Berlitz. I remember seeing his stuff in an open-air theater. But even then, because of what the astrophysicists were saying, I brushed it off. I acted like I already knew better. Like, come on, we've done the math, S equals T times V. With those distances, they're not coming. So even when people talked about it, I ignored it, because I was taught to.
What do you believe was the origin of what you visually witnessed?
I don't know where they came from. Even now I haven't dug into it deeply. But maybe the same UFOs that fly in the sky can also enter the sea, like Transformers. Now there are videos, even books about it, but I never really got involved. My focus has always been on the dangers of gravity. That's where the real risk is. That's what I've tried to warn people about. We need a global system, a control panel. Something that can detect and respond to areas of intense gravity. A slow switch, a fast switch. These anomalies need to be tracked. That's what I was trying to create back in 1978, working with the Japanese. They were good people, patient. They wanted the work done properly. I tried to do it right. But when I went to lawyers to secure the rights to my ideas, not to be greedy, but just so I wouldn't be left with nothing, they all brushed me off, told me, come back later, we'll call you. Of course, none of them ever did. Years passed before I realized what they were really thinking. He's crazy, something happened to him at sea, and they just left it at that. And the universities? Nothing. I've sent messages to physics departments, to astrophysics researchers, to governments, to kings, princes, even the Emperor of Japan. Silence. Total silence. That's what I mean when I talk about the Cavafian walls. They're everywhere. I couldn't even get through to the ship owner who was also a former radio operator. And now, even my old classmate from the academy in Asperpyrgos, Stelios Hadjiioannou, who became a shipping magnate and airline owner, a good man, I haven't been able to connect with him either. The walls are there, the same Cavafian walls.
Polo, I really appreciate you sharing all this with our listeners. Over the last few weeks, despite the language barrier, we have had many communications and was able to share this fascinating encounter.
I didn't share this story just to talk. I shared it because it was my duty, my role as a radio operator. That's what we were trained for, to prevent another Titanic. That's why the very next day, I transmitted the safety signal, TTT. That was our job back then. We were the first line of defense, the first to raise the alarm. And that's all I was doing. My job. I took everything I had to the Ministry of Shipping and the Ministry of Education in Greece immediately. I also tried to bring it to foreign embassies. Sadly, the US never received it. Or, as I later understood that they didn't receive it, it's that the people there were Greek Americans. I call them Janissaries now. Just like the recent US ambassador Tsounis, he's from my village. But those Cavafian walls, they stood tall like the Tower of Babel. No communication, nothing, just silence. Still, I thank you. You're doing what you can. Just be careful. Because the Americans, for all their talk of wanting help from the public, they've also caused deaths. Some by accident because of gravity shifts. Others through so-called reassignments. Many Americans have suffered at the hands of their own secret services and governments. And the same goes for other countries. Countries that claim to be free and democratic. Let's not even go there. Now we're in the era of AI and digital technology, and yet we're living in the worst kind of dark age. A modern Middle Ages. Maybe it really is Plato's cave. Or maybe it's what Dostoevsky said. A world run by idiots. So many great philosophers have spoken about humanity's stupidity. Maybe it's all true. Maybe this Tower of Babel, this thing I've been talking about for years, is the Cavafian walls. Maybe it is Plato's allegorical cave. And don't forget, After my time at sea, I worked in civil aviation. There, of course, the primary responsibility for safety belongs to air traffic controllers. But me, I still had a role. A secondary role, but crucial in ensuring aviation safety. That's why I say it again. I didn't talk about this for fame or because I wanted attention. I did it because it's my obligation. And I'll keep doing it as long as I'm breathing. Thank you for letting me share on your podcast, and thank you to everyone that listens.
Thank you, Polo. Well, that is all for this episode. Keep updated and connected with the show on X, Facebook, and Instagram. And if you have an encounter that you'd like to share on the podcast, you can email me at ufochronicles@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me via the contact page on my website, ufochroniclespodcast.com. A big thank you to Polo for sharing tonight, and thank you all for listening. I will be back next week. Till then, stay safe and keep watching the skies. Goodbye.
Thank you, Nik Hunter. Good work. Kindly, Cristina Gomez, YouTuber UK, speak about explain from UFO for UFO and time dilation, Bermuda Triangle, story from motor vessel Pothiti 1978, due same time in Australia, Frederic Valentit's private aircraft Victor Hotel Delta Sierra Juliet stuck with UFO over Victoria, oil from aircraft overhead from a farmer in Victoria. So that this is very important because Australian another 1988 now less family with car gravity pull up car, some little problems in car. Family okay. 4-member family now less 1988. But 1978, Frederick Valentitz stuck with UFO over Victoria, oil from aircraft overhead farmer with tractor. He write letters Victor Hotel Delta Sierra Juliet in tractor, but governments no smile him, he never speak again. I try to found at least to both of them to show very important. You now many years Australia embassy in Athens, also Canadian embassy not accept telephone at all from Greeks. American embassy accept but smile and close. The dangerous gravity remain. I try to find Frederic Valentitz. Just a moment to look. Disappeared Frederic Valentitz. I try to find from to see little. Take action. Speak to all English speak. Stop hypnosis. Stop that. See from another planet, from another galaxy. Flight objects. And we try to with hypnosis, no with technician, no with physics, no with Einstein, flashback paraphysic hypnosis. They come from other galaxies, maybe from other universities, and we go to Elon Musk. No, very low standard English speak. I do not understand that. 1961, one time Hollywood, okay. But all governments, nothing. And now many UFOs from November. reflex reaction reduced accident without Mayday. And embassy not accept nothing from 1978. American embassy. Other embassies accept but not give priority. Just a moment to look for Frederick Valedit, same time with me. This I try to show him like same UFO I see.
Welcome back, strangers. It is amazing that we live in a time where we can book a flight and travel across the world. Air travel is the closest thing we have to time travel, and when I was a kid, I was fascinated by flying. My grandfather was a pilot, and he always talked about how much fun it was to fly and be in control of where you were going. So, I grew up wanting to be a pilot instead of a firefighter, policeman, or other job that young kids are usually fascinated by. Frederick Valentik always dreamed of being a pilot, but he soon realized how difficult it is to make.
Frederick Valedit to found the strange, the YouTuber is the strange. I selected because same UFO, one big and two small.
An aircraft wreckage with partial matching serial numbers to Fred's Cessna were found in the Bay Strait. Many theories and explanations have been proposed to determine what really happened that October evening. Fred's father said that his son was always fascinated by UFOs, alien movies, and abduction stories. Fred told his father he had witnessed a UFO before and was worried about what would happen if aliens attacked him or the Earth. Some have said that the incident may have been.
Look, in 4 minutes, one big, one mothership and two smallest down. Same in Scotland, 1977 or 197879. Anyway, here in this disappearance of Frederick
elaborate
Valedit,
suicide and or hoax for him to always be remembered by the UFO community. Fred's life wasn't going as planned. He was failing at one thing he loved, and suicide or faking his death to start over makes
many videos. This is from only to look mothership and two smalls like me. Newspaper Herald speak about tractor farmer and stuck with UFO, stuck from gravity pull or reflex reaction reduced. Communications no due metabolism very slow, twin paradox, Einstein. All English speak have all too much physics, technology, but if stop hypnosis, not need nothing from me. They found all. Just a moment to okay. Anyway, you the strangest. Thank you very much. Frederick Valedich 1978 October 21st. Me, I do not remember exactly November last October. Autumn of 1978. Many MLC UFO, many UFO, Kaikoura UFO. If you now, it's very easy by year to found in internet how many UFO 1978 from NISAP, National Investigation Committee Aerial Phenomena. This war Navy user. Anyway, or Wikipedia. Just a moment to found 1988 because gravity pull up car. All today, all people has car. Look, if very, no look now, but car up. 1988 October 21st. 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 21st Now less family encounter 20 January 1988 part 1. I try to stop when pull out.
Family from Perth was driving to Melbourne. They were just west of the South Australian border. At 5:30 Western Australian time this morning, they say a bright light appeared above them, picked up their blue...
Pick up, pull from gravity, pull up, gravity. Make pull up switches, blackout 1965 from gravity from UFOs. For gravity speak France pilot, many Townsend Brown explain brilliance physics Santorini's Pavlos. Santorini's Pavlos stopped to speak 1967 in Athens, Huda. Huda not like this, but Huda in Greece, economic Amas, very good. Anyway, now very important to look this for, because all people has cars. Car up from gravity from UFO.
Western Australian time this morning, they say a bright light appeared above them, picked up their blue Ford Telstar, shook it, and then dropped it, bursting a tyre, denting the vehicle, and leaving ash inside and out. It was broad daylight.
Car up from gravity. Gravity pull. Other times push. Direct from aliens. But universities and government, devils, no speak nothing. All governments. Greece, number one merchant navy, nothing. And we speak same language. But Cavafia walls, very big walls, like tower from Babel. This for about 1978, you can find in the internet, all English speakers know about this. To Wikipedia, to every years, or NISAP, National Investigation Committee Aerial Phenomena. Navy pilots, war pilots, 2004 speak. And they speak US Congress till today. Very good. Major Donald Tendo Artijo, War Navy. Navy, United States never stop to speak the truth. But all governments not speak. Anyway, to avoid accidents, inform all. You speak English, inform direct. All English speak, and now superpower President Donald Trump. I do not know exactly where is email to send something. Inform him. All English speak. All governments, all universities. I inform many times as I can, but nothing. In Australia, this very good example, but still hypnosis 1991, Corina Saibel, Vancouver, Canada. She 45 minutes time dilation. His men go away because 45 minutes for him, 1 minute for woman, and separate. But the Canada minister, due immigration many years ago, not accept at all phone from Greece. I try to find Corina Saibel, inform Corina Saibel what happened. Gravity from UFO. I try to find. Corina Saibel. Anyway, try to find Corina Seibel, Canada. Okay, I found something.
Aldergrove, British Columbia. Located in the fertile Fraser Valley, it's an average working-class town where everyday life is simple and good.
When my husband and I split up, then I decided that I wanted a better life, a quieter life for my children, somewhere where I felt they would be safe. So decided to look at Aldergrove and moved there. Very tiny indeed.
The night of the 17th of July, 1991, started just like any other.
The kids were in bed, they were asleep, and I had a friend who came to visit me. He'd actually talked about marriage at that point. Thank you. Oh, that's the way I like it. It was quite warm, so we decided to go outside on the back patio just to have our tea out there. It's a nice, beautiful, summer night. Oh, beautiful night.
Oh, it's nice out here.
Your scalloped potatoes are incredible.
It's just the cream.
And I remember all of a sudden feeling this strange humming in my abdomen. And I said, "Do you feel that?" He said, "Yes, I was going to ask you if you felt that."
Okay, what is that? That's weird.
And I said, "Look up."
Tom,
Wow.
This thing was about the size of a football field, if not bigger. It was cloaked, and I say that because the only way that you could see the exact shape of it was that it blocked out the stars.
That's crazy.
There were no lights, no sound, and it was just floating along, and then it stopped dead on a dime. I felt claustrophobic, and I said, "Well, is it going to stop coming down?" He couldn't handle it.
This is dangerous. We should go inside. Come on. Let's go inside.
"I'm out of here. I'm going inside, and you'd better come in with me." He ran inside. I stayed there. To me, it felt like maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes at the most, and I was just watching it. And then it was there, and then it wasn't.
There you are.
He just said, "Where have you been?
Where'd you go?
I've looked all over for you. You've been gone for quite a while."
what? I've been right here. I'm watching whatever that
Listen,
was.
I came out with the tea and you left.
I said, "I didn't go anywhere."
What are you
I
talking
looked everywhere
about?
for you. I went into the woods. I went to the end of the driveway trying to find you.
An hour.
I said, "I was outside just for a few minutes." And he said, "No, you've been gone over 45 minutes. I said, "That's impossible."
Tom, I've been standing right here looking up at whatever that was in the sky.
Yeah, for
I'm telling you, I was only out there 2 or 3 minutes. I think you're just, a little nervous about this thing you saw. And he said, "No." He said, "Look at the clock."
I thought I should stick around because the kids would be by themselves while you were gone. You've been gone almost an hour, 45 minutes.
And he said, "I didn't know what to think."
And you just disappeared. There's no explanation.
I've been standing here the whole time, Tom. Tom, you
Like
went
your
inside,
kids there,
you put the
Nancy.
teacups
This is-
down.
you know,
I have been
this
standing here.
disappearing act is just not, it doesn't
What are
work.
you, Tom?
I had no idea where I'd been. After that happened, he never came back again. I got a phone call. "I'm sorry. Goodbye." Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, what do we do with this now? What we witnessed was this huge boomerang-shaped ship. It was probably over the size of a football field big.
1991 in Canada, then they use flashback hypnosis. speak to, not only United States, and the United States is superpower. This just gravity from UFO, 45 minutes no gravity where distance different, 3 minutes for here, 45 minutes. All by this book, Alan Lightman MIT, Alan Lightman MIT. Very easy book, no mathematics. Alan Lightman MIT, Einstein Dreams, pages 26 27. I send the next day because the day with UFO, one, I key only 3 more instead 23. Next day, I send the safety message opposite happening. I saw before little. This is a video in Spanish because Spanish many Latins in Bermuda Triangle. I try to find the Triángulo de Bermudas, Chronoteca Prohibita. Chronoteca Prohibita YouTuber. Triángulo de las Bermudas Testimonio.
Y se vuelven locas. No hay nadie en este mundo que no haya escuchado sobre el Triángulo de las Bermudas o el Triángulo del Diablo, en el que desde 1960 hasta hoy en día han desaparecido más de 1000 barcos y aviones. Todos hemos escuchado sobre Colón y su diario, donde escribe sobre luces extrañas, sobre el barco Rosalie, el mar celeste, el Atlanta, el famoso vuelo 19. En noviembre del 1978, el barco griego Positive viajaba desde Cuba a Argelia transportando azúcar. Todo iba bien para la tripulación, hasta que el telegrafista griego Policarpos Penjas se da cuenta que...
En primer lugar, quiero saludar a los españoles, a los hispanohablantes de América Latina. Estábamos más o menos a 200 millas hacia el oeste de Las Palmas. Íbamos a Gran Canaria. Habíamos partido del puerto Cartagena, puerto Matanzas en Cuba, puerto Nuevitas. Habíamos cargado azúcar y íbamos como destino final a Argelia. Pero ellos me dio cuenta.
Okay, because now also in Spanish I send next time safety message. But pilot stuck with UFO 1978, Frederick Valdez, young man. 2017, 4-member family, Florida, Bahamas. Reflects very slow. And now all full digitals. Attention for this. Full digital all today. Our watches, full digital, is one battery and one oscillator. Oscillator in heavy gravity, frequency smaller and late. Frequency lower and time need more time. Next day, all full digital watches, 4 hours, 35 minutes correction. Mechanical clocks, I cross-check with time signal the same day. I listen time signal, just a moment to put a little to work to till today. There is Mosca radio time signal and other time signals, but I use this. I try to find to look to listen how I listen very very quickly, but agree with clocks also return quickly. I try to find Rho WM are time signal Moscow radio. There is in internet. I try to find to listen how we listen.
Very good signal. RWM time signal station out of Moscow, Russia, which was one of the targets that you can try for. Especially at this time, higher solar activity, it's pretty interesting to see all the signals coming from different areas. The frequencies you should shoot for is 4996. Not hearing anything here. The other frequency to shoot for is 9996. There you go.
Listen very, very quickly. Agree time signal with mechanical clock cells or return quickly. Oh, Einstein. I look from television, Florida, United States, flashback hypnosis. 3 o'clock on the street, 5 o'clock in the fields, missing time, lost 2 hours. I go, what happened in 2 hours? It flashback hypnosis. Me small village. Speak to and Canada, Corina Saimben, flashback hypnosis 1991. 1961 Barney Betty Hill. Start with Hollywood. Stop that. Change with Einstein. Avoid tragic accidents. It's my job that. I know that from 1978. I speak to Euro Parliament. Not accept. When I speak about UFO or about Bermuda Triangle, they close. No, listen, nothing. In others, answer. Not only you need more persons for, but for UFO and for Bermuda Triangle, no any answer. Do something to avoid accidents. Kindly inform all in many languages, many Navy countries, but not only in Bermuda Triangle, incoming gate from Cosmos, but then go to Australia, go everywhere. They speak for Triangle, in Alaska for many aircrafts. Reflex reaction reduced, no SOS. Very dangerous. There is one in Greek, Navsinos, a very good video, Navsinos, X-File Bravo, Navsinos, I saw. He explained all because live that in near UFO, photo UFO, in mountains of Creta Island in Greece. Very good video. I saw this in Greek. X-File video. The scientific is one. I explained telegraph 1978 autumn. He explained the same 2019er because he 2 days in Creta. Me 1 day from morning to night. He 2 days in Creta from in UFO. And think 20 minutes only. 20 minutes, 3 minutes for the woman, for men 45 minutes left separate. And now small, but accidents. Other ship more north from me, I think Poland, I do not remember, I think call signs start from Papa. Papa never said Mayday, lost it. Made SOS, SOS by Morse, sent New Orleans coast station and me repeat, repeat from New Orleans. He lost it. I speak with this ship going to United States when good. After we go back. Listen, this ship no main day, no nothing. Many ships without traces charge barrels. Because reflex reaction very easy. One distance me for 2 decks, 2 hours and more than 2 minutes or 2 minutes no need normal because a lot of baryons from UFO and UFO no visible yet. Other at 10 o'clock morning, coffee time on ships, electrician from engine room to coffee time is a distance 1 2 minutes and arrive 12 and 30 2 hours 35 minutes in distance. This time dilation. No this for hypnosis. Go to electrician flashback hypnosis. He speak one time, thank you, him 2024. I try to found X-File Bravo. Very good, better than me. He explained better than me in 2 days. Lost, and he speak and for more good explain, but the same, but better explain. Gravitational time dilation. X-File Bravo. Now she knows. We found.
Περαιτέρω, στη φωτογραφία το αντικείμενο είναι ελαφρό.
X-File Vita Tsutsuros Navsinos is Greek. He explained then more.
Είναι ελαφρώς κουνημένο, ενώ τα βουνά όχι. Δηλαδή, η φωτογραφία δεν είναι κουνημένη και το αντικείμενο.
His videos Navsinos X-File Vita, X-File Bravo, Navsinos. He studied in England. He speak English very better than me. But anyway, I speak poor English. He studied in England. And X-File Bravo from him is about time dilation, gravitational time dilation, X-File Vita, X-File Bravo.
Είναι ελαφρώς κουνημένο, ενώ τα βουνά όχι. Δηλαδή, η φωτογραφία δεν είναι κουνημένη και το αντικείμενο εμφανέστατα έχει πολύ μεγάλη ταχύτητα. Είναι ελαφρώς κουνημένο, ενώ τα βουνά όχι. Δηλαδή...
He write also the same gravitational time dilation, and more Einstein twin paradox. sorry for this. I thank you very much all. Good bon viaje, bon viaje. Good travel to Siemens. Good travel, good flights to pilots. Thank you very much, Nik Hunter. Cristina Gomez, please make one. You have your good YouTuber in UK. Make one copyright from speak one day about how I explain my story and how I explain. No explain for hypnosis. They come from other planets, from other galaxies, and we go to hypnosis. And go to hypnosis United States today. What is? In some islands in Pacific Islands, second world, helicopters or airplanes from United States to go to Japan for fire, stop in some islands, and some islands, local people make hypnosis or ask the magos, magic, paraphysic. Same today, same from United States start that. Okay, Hollywood. For others. Look a little for Einstein. To avoid accidents, tragic accidents. One aircraft today, 500 persons, it is lives and properties and cost. One ship today, more than 5,000. 7,000 I listen. More than, when they speak to me now, ships, more than 5,000 on board. And Cavafia walls, tower walls, Vavel towers means Cavafia Tichi. Philosophy, I do not know what with humanity speak and it's still hypnosis. Dostoevsky and other philosophers, they stupid. What to say? Carl Sagan speak. In here, I listen in other university, German university, one good for quantum gravity. I speak to him for UFO and aliens. He blocked me from everywhere. Germany is flat, speak Nietzsche. Nietzsche says, I am not German, I am Poland. That Nietzsche was Poland. Because no flat. Today all universities flat. All governments flat. And hypnosis Hollywood. Okay, Hollywood make cinemas, make something. Look Charles Berlitz. Look many years ago. Thank you, pilots 2004. Come to speak. Alexander Dietrich and others. Explain again. Near misses. 11 times war aircrafts with very dangerous to stuck with UFO. 11 times near misses. Now, today, from November, in United States, many pilots report UFO multiplies. Look in internet. Multiply UFO reports from pilots to tower, to FIA. Sometimes TICAS alert, traffic collision avoidance system alert. Sometimes from November today, 11 near misses, war with army on board and nuclear army destroyed. I do not know about gravity, about exactly how this about brilliance, physics, Santorini's Pavlos, and Plantier pilot explained. Today, not know. Universities not know that. This from 1966 in Athens. In France, 1953. Explain to Canadian minister die now, Paul Heller. Thank you. Explain all about gravity. Bob Lazar, explain about gravity at the element 115. Bob Lazar speak three different gravities to move. And element 115, nothing in universities. Charles Berlitz, not in universities. Donald Edward, 11 near misses, not in universities physics. Frederic Valedich stuck with UFO, no, nothing teach in universities, no, dive all in universities and governments. We speak about this because here one Kosmas Etolos, monarch for Orthodox, under Turkish occupation, towers from churches, and the churches make schools, because in the schools not go divers. But after 1947, United States make contract with aliens, divers from churches go to schools and to universities and the governments. Pilot, Japan pilot, very good, very electronic. One pilot from Japan report UFO, ground pilot, not engine. 1492 Christopherus Columbus, right? I see many in Bermuda Triangle, lights, undersea, oversea. Nothing. 1492 speak. Write newspapers. He's long till today. Today, all digital dark. More severe. No speak nothing. And accidents. And not a lot now. Okay, they need a little, but thank you very much. More to speak about with gravity blackouts. Yes, nuclear weapons explosion from heavy gravity, because all for Earth gravity 9.78 to 9.83. Navy pilots 2004 speak about 700 G or 3000 G. Nuclear explosion. CNN saw Harry Clean, one destroy ship, war destroy ship, explosion, nuclear weapons. Robert Salas, many military officers from America speak about that. You have gravity, but universities for physics, nothing. It's dangerous for nuclear weapons. Earthquakes. Look, strange press point GR, Greek site. In Switzerland, 1946, many UFO come, earthquake. And he's seismologic, physics explain that. Earthquakes, volcanic explosion, full. Now Santorini full. If UFO explosion, if Santorini explosion, volcano, very catastrophe. and no speak about aliens, no aliens, you are crazy. I speak to German, very good, look for him, sky, brilliance for quantum gravity, block, no flat. Look, but universities, what do? The way they work, no good. Do something. It's dangerous. Explosion from volcanic, from nuclear weapons, for heavy gravity from UFOs. But UFOs work with American. This is very explained brilliant physics in Greece in Athens many years ago. 1967 stopped to explain to stop from Honda. This danger is not only for ships, for aircrafts, for cars, but for nuclear weapons, explosion, volcanic eruption, earthquakes, blackouts. Blackout not only 1965 in the United States and other areas, big blackout. 1947 blackout and in Greece. 1978 many UFO earthquake in Thessaloniki, Greece. Thessaloniki, big city in Greece, with die some people. Many photo from UFO. 1978 blackout, Italy, not in Rome, in other areas. Because gravity from UFOs. Pull up the switches, blackout. Then current UFO distance away, blackout finish without nothing to do Italian technician, an Italian technician electrician. How blackout finish will not do nothing. Will not change nothing. Will no open switches, no close switches. Because gravity no more, switches, other switches, 1978. Today, all full digital. One more, I say, all full digital watches in my ship, 4 hours, 35 minutes, because they oscillator, crystal oscillator, and heavy gravity oscillate lower. Very easy. Normal according to Einstein. Kindly inform all governments, starting from President United States, superpower, speak English, and all other countries, UK, many accidents, Star Tiger 1948, kindly also Nick Pope and Cristina Gomez informed their family about and might explain, because Star Tiger 1948. Sure, because his keyboard's very slow, like me. Another Stardust 1947. Anagram. The aliens try to contact the word descend, then anagram. Me send Morse to me again. My last call again from aliens. And many hours later. This is the way to contact with ordinary people. They contact only with they care only for their base. Look, Charles James Hall with tall whites or millennial hospitality. John Lear, aliens are here and they are not friends. They look for their bases. Other. Robert Bigelow, aliens among us. University is nothing. Physics nothing. Hypnosis. Superpower hypnosis. I 1978 young, no, listen me, you may be crazy from ships. Now, uh, many years, some people listen to me. I'm okay. Yes, at least today, listen to avoid accidents and more do something. We know UFO has having gravity. We can lose attend everywhere on Earth. More gravity. Astrophysics, electronic physics cannot lose attend having gravity. Can, but to look something. Also, I listen very quickly, they listen me very slow. Like Star Tiger, very slow. Golf Alpha Hotel November Papa. Listen very slowly. Need button fast slow speed. 4 5 hours about in order to conduct with for conduct. Also radar, palmic radar, no objective because frequency change. Frequency come lower, filter from radar is a receiver filter, no times, so it's transmit receive, so it's cut if come back echo later. Please all who can inform physics, inform navy, inform air academies, all today all people crew is drivers are drivers. Reflex drivers reaction reduced and attention because and all full digitals back for hours. Also problem from having gravity. Need physics to teach, need physics to explain. No say nothing due distance Earth alone. Aliens among us to explain the people how dangerous is UFO radiation gravity. Also, aliens, how dangerous. They have a microbio, they have something for medicine for other people. Not us. Also, his form may be circuits, different circuits. No speak. They speak nothing. Dive on governments and universities. There is no UFO, no Bermuda Triangle, no Triangle, Alaska, nothing, nothing for governments and for universities. Anyway, thank you very much, Nik Hunter. Try to inform all because I try many years is my work that I do not know. Okay, thank you very much all for listening. Good travels, good ports for Siemens, flights good for pilots and all. Thank you, Nik Hunter. Cristina Gomez, try something to speak about motor vessel Pothiti. Not forget, Greek merchant marine is number one from many years. Speak about how we explain. And speak kindly why Cavafia walls. Cavafia walls, no possible to conduct. Cavafian walls are for me Tower of Babel, Babel Tower. By it all, the best. Today is August 25, local time in Athens, 1645, okay, 117, 26 August 2025. To August 1947, Stardust. Anagram word descent. British South American Airways. And Star Tiger, also British South American Airways. He Morse very slow, like new operator like me. Thank you to all. Thank you, Nik Hunter, for good work. I wish the best to all. Stop hypnosis. Work with Einstein, gravitational time dilation to in paradox in gravity from UFOs. UFOs use gravity to move the first. See all about Plantier Force France Theory 1953 and try to brilliance Physic Santorinis Pavlos. There is a site Strange Press GR in English, and another only in Greek, Κατοχικά Santorinis Pavlos. Κατοχικά Santorinis Pavlos. Thank you, Navsinos, for Creta 2 days for 20 minutes. Corina Seibel, 3 minutes, 45 minutes. All this Einstein. This physics I know. American physics, America not learn about physics, nothing. Vital. Physics speak about.